Okay, here's another game with the Trompovsky. I originally came to know the Trompovsky from a Utah player called Jeff Phillips, who was not only a good chess player, he was a good guy in general. It's like he's a fun friend. You could go talk to him about stuff. He was just, one of those neat people that you meet in life. And when he first played the Trompovsky against me, he was playing this line with h4, and I found it very disagreeable. I was very angry. I was saying, this is a stupid line. Why are you playing such a stupid line? And so anyway, over time, he would, he just kept sticking to it and playing it, and playing the ye old Trompovsky, and so I learned something from him. Here's a neat trap that I learned from him, and that I played like at least 70 times against people, at least 70 times, or maybe 1,000. It's just a lot. I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this. Okay, so let's start with d4, knight to f6, bishop to g5, and then here they play g6, and the object here, same thing. They want to play a King's Indian. They're going to put the bishop at g7. If you let them put the bishop at g7, taking the knight just gives them the bishop pair with no structural damage. So you must do it right now. Right this second. Let's do it. There's a lot of variations of this. This is not the only way you can arrive at this trap. There's lots of variations. Lots of really cool ones. They're really fun. So then he takes back, and then you play e3. It's the same story. Now this is beautiful because you have two plans here. Okay, because if they plant at d5, you can do the age-old one with the c5 where you give them an isolated pawn, or they'll put your bishop at c4, which will help. That bishop at c4 will help your attack on the king. So let's say they go on and they play bishop to g7. Now, Jeff used to just play knight to e2. I've experimented with playing c4 and so forth. It's kind of not a good idea to waste time with that. You can do that if the board shapes up in the right way, but I like just playing the knight to e2 right straight away. So he castles, and then we play knight to f4. And so now some of the time they play moves like d6, for instance. They can play d5. In either case, irrespective of what they do, unless, they, play... I can't think of a move that's no good. And if, that just loses. Maybe knight a6, but it's really not necessarily that bad. So you shove the h-pawn. You're going to open up the h-pawn. The knight and the queen and the bishop will all attack the king. And so, let's say, so they would do something like knight to c6. You shove the h-pawn up. And then they play, for instance, bishop to d7, and then you play pawn takes pawn, and then they take with the f pawn, which is certainly helpful, but then you give them a bishop check, and it's their last chance to just go down and exchange and suffer. But sometimes they're playing quick. They're playing move on move on move, and then you get to play knight to g6 check mate. So you get to play mate on the h file. Now this attack has lots and lots of different methods that just grind black into dust. So it's a very good attack. It's this attack that convinced me. He said, you know what, I'm a Trompovsky player. And then I got a video on it, explain some of the concepts, and I'm hooked for life. Because, see, one of the good things about it is if a guy works on the Budapest every day, he's a Budapest this, Budapest that, he plays e5 against your d4 and c4. And he just plays knight f6 and e5. You play. He has most of the experience because he plays much more Budapest games because that's all he plays. The Queen's Indian player, that's all they play. The Nimzo Indian player, that's all they play. But when you play the Trompovsky, you're dragging them into your modus of operandi. You're taking them into your home and slapping them in the face. Slap, 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 take that. So, this is another fun line.